Hello, thank you so much for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela. Imagine a world free from gender-based violence. Well, some will say that will be a pigment of my imagination, but it is workable. That is, if societies around the world continue to push in the advocacy of ending the scourge. It is sacrosanct because the human cost of violence against women and girls is incalculable. Violence against women and girls is one of the most prevalent and pervasive human rights violations. According to reports, we hear 1 in 3 women experience one form of physical or sexual violence at least once in their lifetime, a figure that has remained largely unchanged. This is why the Unite to End Violence Against Women, an initiative by the United Nations, is a multi-year effort to prevent and eliminate violence against women and girls around the world. A global campaign that has continued to generate multifaceted approaches towards fostering a more equitable and just society for all women and girls. No doubt, gender-based violence disrupts peace and stability within families and communities. It triggers myriad costs of societies. And if you want to look at healthcare, education, social protection, justice, and productivity, preventing economies from achieving their full potential. Well, the solution, they say, lies in robust responses, including investment in the prevention of gender-based violence. Nigeria, you know, is signatory to various international and regional standards, which creates the obligations to respect, protect, and fulfill the rights of women and girls to freedom from violence. But the question is, how far so far for our country, Nigeria, especially as campaign continues to intensify year in, year out towards ending gender-based violence in Nigeria. Well, that will be the center of our discussion of the program today. Thank you so much for joining us once again. And the focus is ending gender-based violence, the task ahead. And our guest is the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Barrister Uju Kennedy Ohanenye. Thank you so much for joining us, Honorable Minister.
Thank you.
All right, before we introduce our panelists, you know the tradition on the program, we take you through a bit of the profile of our guest. Barrister Uju Kennedy Ohanenye started her journey, which has been characterized by resolute dedication to empowering women, advocating for justice for gender-based violence victims, and advancing girl-child education and upliftment. She holds a Bachelor of Law degree. She has published various editions of one magazine named Akata magazine and Wahala magazine, both centered on courts and legal education. She's an author. She's an entrepreneur. The Honorable Minister has this determination and resilience, which was further evident when she became the sole female presidential aspirant to contest for the APC presidential ticket. That was in 2022. And she was appointed as the vice chairperson of the Tinubu-Shetima Presidential Campaign Council in Southeast Geopolitical Zone. Her humanitarian endeavors have earned her numerous international and national awards, including the Most Promising NGO of the Year award that was in 2015. Barrister Uju Kennedy Ohanenye is also a member of various professional bodies, including the Institute of Loan and Risk Management and the Institute of Information and Strategy Management. Well done, Honorable Minister.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we'll introduce our panelists now. One of our correspondents who deals with women affairs, Momso Damien Detti. Momso, thank you so much for joining us on Platform.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you. Honorable Minister, we're looking at ending gender-based violence, the task ahead. It's a huge responsibility on your shoulder, especially when we want to look at women issues. And we're already seeing that you're flying the flag with the orange you're representing.
Exactly.
Yes, and we've seen the 16 days activism campaign against gender-based violence has come and gone. And this is a task that shouldn't just be talked about only when we're celebrating the International Day or when the campaign starts and ends, but it's a continuous practice that we see happen that shouldn't be a norm. Now, when you came on board, we've been following your progress. You were so passionate about, when it comes to GBV. Please share with us, within the time frame you've been on board, what are your findings and what is it you're pushing for right now?
Thank you so much. When I came in, even before I came into government as the Minister of Women Affairs, I've seen, I've heard, I have noticed so many things, so many inhumanity to human, so many maltreatments on human beings, as if some people are not even human. By the time you see the way they treat others. And I only looked and I found out that the majority of the problem they have is that no justice at the end of the day. Nothing happens to them.
Yeah.
They do what they like and they get away with it. So if you do something and you get away with it, give me a reason why you should stop it. So many people like to see others suffer. When they inflict pain on others, they are very satisfied. So I came in, the first people I had meeting with a day after I came into office were the UNICEF group. They came to me to introduce themselves and we got talking and I asked them, what have you been doing? Because I'm not seeing any improvement in my country. Things are even getting worse. They have female genital mutilation, out of school children, early marriage, violence on women and children. What is going on that is increasing? Because from the database, which I checked immediately I came, it was on the increase and the solution was nothing. So they said, they're trying their best. I said, okay, they asked me, what do I think is the problem? I said, there is no law. Nobody is taking any action, legal action against these people and making sure they are brought to book. So that was how I went to the president and I spoke to him about it. He gave a nod because he himself said, allow the poor to breathe. Do not suffocate the poor. That statement alone is mainly within this violence against women and children. The women and children are over 70% of population. If violence on them should stop, there will be no violence. There will be very much security in the country. So he said, go ahead. He gave me a nod. So I wrote a letter to Attorney General. UNICEF man volunteered, Mr. Ibrahim, to go with me. We went together. We had a meeting, and at the end of the day, they said the Governors Forum might be the issue. We wrote to Governors Forum, and we got an approval. As I speak to you today, we have approval. It's even by 14th, they will do the first creation from what the letter I got. We're meeting with all the Attorney Generals the second time for the implementation and creation of that special mobile court to attend to this.
Okay.
So that is the point. So these things are coming to an end almost. It's coming to an end because with the mobile courts, that is the 70% of solution to the problem.
Okay, Honorable Minister, you just mentioned the fact that you saw a lot of inhumanity, human and all that. What are those prevailing forms of, maltreatment or the violence meted against women and children?
Number one, it's only in this country you adopt a child. Nobody cares about that child after the child has been adopted. You take that child overseas, you do as you wish with the child. As far as it's a Nigerian child, the person is like an animal. We've stopped that. You don't take any child. If you come to my office, you see files of adoption files I've not signed. You have to come with that child. You have to give me, if you're living overseas, you have to give me your residency permit. I have to have a copy of it. I have to snap you with that child. I have to let you know when you get there and the child starts school. If in 6 months you don't write us to tell us the school this child is, for us to send a representative either from Nigerian embassy to go and check on that child, I'll declare you wanted. With that picture, I'm telling you the truth.
Okay, Honorable Minister,
Yes,
and
please.
just recently, you got a nod from the Nigerian Governors Forum
Yes.
to establish mobile courts. Now, most times we see commitments like that, which requires more political push for it to be implementable. How are you monitoring that development? I know it's just the start, to ensure that it's going to be beyond verbal commitment, but there's a political backing to it.
I came in on the 20th of August. By first week of September, I had already written for that mobile court. By October 23rd, I've gotten approval because I had to make them know how urgent it is. When the head is correct, the whole body feels good. So with the kind of president we have, Imagine the short period it took me to get the approval from the whole governors. They couldn't meet. What they did emergency visual meeting and allowed me to make my presentations. And within a week, I got a letter of approval. And now I wrote back to the Attorney General, attaching the letter of approval to let him know that I've gotten this, which was the main obstacle he was fearing. What do we do next? Within a week, I wrote to him. He organized the Attorney Generals of the whole Federation. I equally went there and made my presentation that all the Solicitor Generals are coming together for the implementation and creation of the court, which is coming up next week. So what are we talking about? When the head is okay, the whole body works.
Indeed.
So let me just come in here. You are a lawyer. Can you just give us a detailed explanation on how this mobile court will be operated or run? Who do I contact when there's a case of violence? How do I get to access the services of the mobile courts?
The UNICEF is coming up with a funding plan. I believe other donors will come up with funding plans. But most times I don't ask for these things. I want to first show what I can do before you start looking at funds. So with the little we have in the ministry, I could kickstart. After all, I sued the Maitama Hospital staff. I sued the man that has been violating a girl since 7.5 years till now that the girl is 9 years before he was caught. I sued him. I didn't ask anybody for help. Even if we don't have in the coffers, I have lawyers that will volunteer to do this free of charge because they are equally passionate about this maltreatment on humans. So it's not that one is not a problem at all. Then how it works, there's one already existing for traffic lights, I think by road safety or so. Okay. It's existing. It's a very simple matter. If a crime is committed here, you just call on the mobile court. The judge will quickly put up his court, carry all the needed, land there and there. The matter goes on. It could be decided immediately, dependent.
Are you going to make some toll lines free so people can access?
We already have that, and we're having a portal. We have a portal already, which is a data where you make these reports. So what we are doing now is to carry out, which we are begging NTA to help us. Because like you said, where do we get the funds? But this is not a war that only one person can win. Yeah. It's something all hands will be on deck. Both the media, both the government, we all come together to get it done. We're focusing now more on how to build our nation. Nothing else should matter to anybody. So even NTA and some other television houses should help us in promoting this thing, advertising it for people to know. We're only bringing in the town criers to let people know you can now report and these are the actions. And by the time we take few of the actions and you people help us to commercialize it, advertise it for people to see it, that will encourage others to come out. And speak out. You understand what I mean?
Yes, because gender-based violence, of course, if it affects one, it affects all one way or the other. And we want to look at the root causes of this because you want to proffer solution to a problem, you should nip the problem in the bud. And the cultural and societal factor,
yes,
especially in rural communities where women don't have access to information. They don't even know how to protect and defend their rights. What is in place for that rural woman who goes through one form of violence or the other, as maybe cultural practice or, domestic violence? They're all forms of it, but they don't have the willpower to speak out because they don't even know where to go.
We've introduced some ways of letting them understand what's going on and letting them equally see the good effect and advantage of what is good. The town criers, we've introduced them because most times, almost everything they've been sponsoring for us in Nigeria, the same people that don't need those helps are the ones equally getting the help. And at the end of the day, those that need the help continue suffering and continue increasing in number. So we've known all these things before we came into government. Even the president knows it. So we're now focusing more on where it will yield fruit. So when we use town criers, we have to let them educate them on this. Then there are issues of when a woman reports that the man is abusing the child or beating her up, the neighbors and the kinsmen come after her Why did you go and report? Like the Enugu case, it happened. They came after the woman, and the woman had to go to court, the magistrate's court, to roll on the ground, begging the court that she didn't want her husband to go to jail.
Wow.
So what did I do? I sued her too. I sued her for negligence. I sued the man for defiling the child. Now, she went back to them and started crying. Have you seen what has happened? I might end up in jail. So now nobody will now tell her, don't say again, because she herself is in trouble. So I spoke to the teachers. I spoke to the mothers. If your child is suffering, even the children, if you're suffering and you can't talk to your mother, probably it's your father that is committing the crime or your stepfather, go to the school and tell your teacher. Then teachers should observe the children like they do overseas. And if a child is not looking okay, looks depressed, talk to that child in a manner the child can open up to you. Because if we find anything happening to the child in school and the teacher does not know or report or did not find out, we will not only sue that person, we will sue the teacher for negligence. So we need to make people take up responsibilities.
What about the community heads, the rulers, which, of course, you said when they go, some cultural practice frowns against, having the women speak out against such practice. Are you carrying the community leaders, religious, traditional rulers along?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, one of the things we are doing, we're empowering these women sustainably. And because before you start fighting these things with mobile courts, a hungry person is an angry person.
Of course.
So first, get that person to get what to do, to be doing. So we're forming the women groups into cooperatives in order for government to be able to help them in the villages. Now, if we do that with the hubs and the portal we have, that will help us equally market whatever they are producing.
Yes.
And that will give them a voice.
Yes.
And now, for us to do this, before I enter any community, I call the community leaders for meeting. I call the women leaders of that particular place and the youth leader. They are now the ones to help us organize those in the villages. Tell us the names of the meetings. We're not bringing in women's society meetings. We're not doing that.
Okay.
Because every woman belongs to a village.
Yes.
So if you want to be part of what we are doing, go back to the village and register with them. Then you'll be part of what we are doing. So with that, they already know that the government is interested in these women to make their lives better, to give them a voice. So I don't think if we take any action, it will be a problem to them because we carry them along in what we are doing.
Okay. Listen, let me just step in here. I'm aware that you just rolled out some empowerment projects. Yes, starting from the FCT.
Yes.
You know, Ruth had asked earlier how you intend to carry the rural women along, which are our main focus, because I'm sure majority of the women who undergo violence are living in rural communities. So why did you choose the kind of empowerment you decided on, and how do you hope to sustain that?
Thank you so much. You saw the pink riders. The pink riders, that is the tricycle. Yes, the tricycle. So the tricycle is for the women. As we speak, I went for this COP28 and I was able to meet a company who wants to subsidize the tricycle for the women and then give them the electrical one. And in those electrical ones, we have ambulances there. Wow. We have trucks that can move their goods from one point to the other. Wow. We have so many different of it that could, it's not like the tricycle we've been seeing before. It has glasses and all that. So we've entered into a partnership with them, which we are hoping to take off by first week in January. And when we do that, the women will pay like just 40% of that money, while the company will take up 40% and the ministry will take up 20% as grants for them. So this will help. So now those are the ones we will take to the villages. Because we are talking, I had a meeting with the Minister for Health yesterday, and we decided to work together so that even if we can provide a mini health center for women, the Minister of Health will send personnel to work there, while we find a way, both the Ministry of Health and Women Affairs, to provide that tricycle ambulance in case of emergency for women that are delivering. Believe me, this will go a long way in solving most of our issues.
It's a very good initiative. I'm just imagining the women in their tricycle.
I rode it myself.
And I can imagine the picture. It's beautiful.
And I'm still going to ride it again.
Okay.
And when I go to the village to give them, we will all get together and write it for people to know that it's not a big deal. There's no job a woman cannot do.
Yes.
They're very strong naturally. If you're not strong, there's no way you could push out a child.
You know
what it takes.
Of
We're
course.
talking about agricultural empowerment too.
Yes. The tricycle I was talking about is what they will use to bring out those produce. We are going to get them to start doing. We're giving them rice seedlings. They've started already. They finished their training last week and they've taken off.
Oh, they have training?
Yes, they went for a training. I think they could give you people some of these pictures to show us. I probably went for the training with them. We went there.
Okay.
They've been trained. They're getting their lands ready, which will be ready in a couple of days, and they will start planting. We've gotten the seedlings already. It was donated to us by that company that trained them. So the rice is a high yield rice, because if the normal rice gives you 100 bags, this will give you 140 bags. And we are equally with another company issue of stocks. If you know overseas, their stocks are quicker to get ready for sale, and they're fatter than ours. So we've gotten the secrets from a company who is here now to do the same thing for us, like they're doing with the rice yield, high yield rice. So this one now, we're probably going to provide them with the initial cows to start.
Okay.
I want to start it myself. I will test run it here in Abuja. The ministry will do it directly. And we will follow up as the cow is growing to let people understand the difference. Because if the Nigerian own, usually they eat just grass, grows in 1.5 years. This one gets ready in 8 months. That means they could do double within that particular time they used to do once. And it's usually fatter. So the meat will come down in prices and the country will be okay. And note, the feed they give them will be produced by the farmers. So that will probably give them more money. Because we have a machine now that we're giving to them. They will bring those particular crops, mix it together. So this is not an issue of what are they bringing for us to give our cow? What are they doing this? No, that you will mix it yourself. The natural crops, you bring it together, you mix it, and the cow eats it and gets more matured quicker.
Okay, Honorable Minister, this is a very good initiative, I must say. And the fact that these women are being empowered in certain areas that they wouldn't have imagined, they will excel in that aspect. What about at the state level? This is at the federal level. Are you going to have a synergy with state governors, even at the community level, to ensure that this initiative trickles down to women who really need this empowerment across the country?
Thank you. I'm a Women Affairs, and I'm Minister for Women Affairs. That is federal. And when it comes to federal, it is the responsibility of federal government to equally go into villages and take care of them. I want to take care of women across the nation. So like the Governors Forum, they've given us letter. We will write them now before we start going around. But as we speak, I'm already collating the women meetings and turning them to cooperatives. If there are more than 50, I subdivide it into women like Umuada of Umudioka village 1 and 2, because what we'll be giving them is what they do together. And let me tell you why I brought this scheme of doing these things together, to bring peace. In Kaduna now, we brought the herders and the farmers together. 200 families, 100 from herders, 100 from farmers, and they're doing it together. They're happy because they will make money and they're not putting in anything. In Adamawa, where they've been fighting for so many years, we brought the herders and farmers together. They're doing it together. They came for the training. So you see what I mean? And this we will onboard them, and that will give us better knowledge of who exists in the country, because almost everybody will want to be part of what we are doing. And that will help the government for the insecurity we are talking about. So it will bring security, it will bring peace, even in homes. When women are making money, they won't nag. And when men and the woman is busy, the man won't see her anywhere to start making trouble with her. Because most times it's give me. That brings about most of the issues. Yeah. So it's going to solve a lot of things.
I like the fact that you're being practical about your initiatives. Mom, so go ahead.
Yes, you just talked about, promoting peace. And that brings me to the question of security outfits and agencies now adopting gender policies, like the police, I'm aware, recently just started their own gender desk. And then, so what measures are you taking to ensure that this is sustained? And how closely are you working with them to ensure that when cases of gender violence arises, that there's immediate, action taken, prosecution and the arrest of defaulters or suspects?
Thank you. The day we had a meeting that I introduced that mobile court in the Attorney General's office, I invited the police, I invited judiciary, I invited every stakeholder, including some civil society organizations. So we are working together in this. And when the police, when they were employing the school certificate holders, we went to them and asked for our 35% affirmative. Let me tell you, this is not the time anybody will, take over anything that is supposed to belong to the women. It won't happen. They know we're serious. Even the mobile courts will take it and go after them. I'm sorry.
Well, Honorable Minister, a lot of, we've seen civil society organizations, NGOs, who are really pushing in the fight against gender-based violence. They have their strategies, and I'm sure they're working hand in hand with the ministry. But again, we have laws. We have the VAP Act. We have the Maputo Protocol that, Nigeria is part of the convention. This implementation has been an issue for a very long time that keeps lingering. We want affirmative action. We want the Maputo Protocol to also be effective. We want our VAP Act law to be well domesticated across the country. We have the Child Rights Act also we want to be domesticated. These laws are there, Honorable Minister, and you're a barrister. What is the problem, actually? Because I won't say it's a challenge. What is the problem? We have these laws. What is it? Why is it not effective enough?
It's both a challenge and a problem.
Okay.
Before now, you take a matter of rape to court. By the time they finish the rape, the small child is already a matured person. She will start suffering because people will not say, stigmatization will come in. So, because 14 years, 15 years, you're on a matter, which is one of the reasons so many people don't come up to report anything.
Exactly.
And you now bring out that child, stand her up in front of the court, open court, where everybody will be sitting down. It affects the child psychologically. It's not a very good thing for the future. So the mobile court will sort out some of these things. Now about the CSOs. Before now, people were just doing what they wanted to do, grabbing money from donors, lavishing it and using it for their personal needs. I'm telling you, let us be realistic, because there was no way to implement the law. So what have we done? There's a social council. We have a social council now, which we inaugurated last 2 weeks. The social council is going to take care of that, because this law was passed last December 2022. That was when they passed the law. So we inaugurated it in 2 weeks ago, where Ministry of Health, all the social components have one representative as a member, and then we'll have a chairman. Now, for you to be a recognized CSO or social worker, you must register with that social council. It is now the major body that we guide and organize these groups so that we work with one voice. And that one voice now, we will lecture them on how to use the mobile courts. They will know how to report the cases. They won't handle the cases directly anymore. They will report it to the council, and the council takes it up immediately. So I think the way we are going, in 6 months, you will see the perfect organization that is going on. Okay. So that legal council is a very huge thing coming up.
Mom, so just hold that question.
All right.
Have to take a break. All right. Let's take a break. We're back. Please stay tuned.
What are we doing as a nation to, first of all, settle our teeming populace, especially the
NTA's political package with a third eye on the nation's political scene? I am Fisa Ogunfuyi. Welcome.
You have to be very careful giving space to people who are obviously sponsored to further the agenda of some other groups.
There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions in a closed door sessions. Some of these issues, some of the problems bedeviling of their
In fact, between June 1st and July 17, 19-point-something billion has left the coffers of the NDDC.
I can say my constituency, they need everything, because we don't have anything.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned. The conversation is still on ending gender-based violence and the task ahead. So before we took the break here, we're going to pick up with the questions. So
yes, I just wanted to add to what you asked earlier, Ruth. Honorable Minister, you just, I keep hearing good comments about all states adopting the VAP Act. Now, with the adoption by the states, would you say there's a decline or increase in the cases of gender-based violence across the country?
Thank you.
Yes, because you hear, it's a plus when states adopt,
Yes. The last meeting we had, which was the first outing after I became the Minister of Women Affairs, it was only Bauchi State that was remaining. I heard again there are other people, but it's a hearsay as far as I'm concerned. The one I was sure of was Bauchi State. Now, even with the VAP Act, whether the state has adopted it openly or not, with the mobile courts approved by all the governors, it's an automatic thing. Okay. Are you understand? Because they mentioned what they approved the governors, the mobile court for. They said for violence against women, adopted by the whole 36 states, including FCT. Then they equally wrote to decongest the court, because so many innocent people are inside, they congest the prison. So many innocent people are in the prison. So they made it very clear what it is for. So whether you've come out to say you've adopted it, it's already an existing law, and the mobile court has been created to manage these cases. Yeah. So there's no way any governor will come out and say, no, I've not adopted it in my state, because some of them is out of sight. It's up, you're understanding me? Yes. They didn't really mean not to adopt it, just that they've not looked into it yet. So the mobile court has solved the problem.
Okay, but
go ahead, Marcia.
Yes, I wanted to just add this question. How far would the sex offenders register? Hardly do I see any billboard around Abuja, Lagos, showing the face of any offender. Is it still in existence?
What do you mean by face of any offender? To show the world who has been offended?
Yes, the offenders, no, the sex offenders.
The perpetrators,
yes.
No,
that was in place in the past.
Yes, I don't think it's that wise. You could talk about it. Don't show the face yet, because sometimes you show the face while the case is going on.
No, after prosecution.
People will lynch them. No, after prosecution and we get judgment, we'll definitely show the person's face.
Okay.
But talking about prosecution.
But you won't show the child.
No, just talking about the offender.
And that's actually where I'm getting to. We see that most times the perpetrators are the ones being shielded, and the children, or the victim rather, is the one being exposed. And there's a stigma around the whole situation. And then earlier you mentioned the conspiracy of silence, even from the victims. Because they're trying to protect. If it's a child involved, we've seen situations where, the parents are trying to cover up because they don't want that stigma around the child. There are laws that protect the child. Why are we not having that effective for us here? Because you can't put a child go through such trauma for the rest of their lives.
How can you stop that? Number one, the child has a right, but the right can't come without that child complaining or report coming against the person, the perpetrator. So that is difficult to stop it. But what I know is so many of them are not reporting, because most times after reporting, nothing happens. So that is the major discouragement. So now, if they start saying the issue, that's why I said that NTA and other television houses should help us by subsidizing the issue of adverts and jingles on gender violence. They should subsidize it. That is part of what I expect them to do.
And so that is part of the campaign you're doing right now.
And NTA has been in the forefront, of yes.
Because I remember the time, Honorable Minister, we kept, we launched the campaign actually in NTA against rape and, rapists. And we kept saying it. So NTA has contributed a whole lot, which we're still doing right now when it comes to the campaign against gender-based violence.
What I mean is that we are coming up with jingles in the languages
she wants more.
Our people will understand. Subsidize those jingles for us, so we push as many as we can to send the messages across. If we send the messages across and the mobile court starts and we're still putting up jingle to show once we have done how long it took us to do it, you'll find out that people will be more encouraged to report. Even if the mother does not report, the child will report in school.
That's true.
Because overseas, they encourage the children to know that if you report, action will be taken. And these little children go to school and report, and the teachers report to the police. Are you understanding my point?
Yes.
So it still boils down on creating awareness in what we are doing and taking action when any crime is committed.
I understand where you're coming from, because a lot has been said when it comes to the investment, financial capacity to fund issues around gender-based violence, which is actually what this year's team was focusing on, Unite, Invest, you know, towards ending gender-based violence. So investment is very critical. I understand your point, Honorable Minister, but again, it still falls back to you in a way, because you also, as someone who is at the helm of affairs, you have to re-strategize on ways to raise funds, you know, to support some of these issues around GBV. Are you looking at support with the international community? I know there are already ongoing support with the UN, but other investors, which area are you looking at?
It's part of what the Legal Council will do.
Okay.
Because the Legal Council, which I'm the supervisor, will go into sourcing funds from both private and international bodies to assist us. But I will only advise them, before you do anything, let's use the little fund we have and prove ourselves. Because there have been so much talk and advocacies without action.
Yes.
Let us prove to them that things have changed, the narrative has changed. Let's push it out, show them, and you see that it will work. The people will even volunteer by themselves to bring in money. I don't have doubts.
In fact, that brings me to this question of budgeting. I'm aware that the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs has the least budget. So is it that people don't see the need to invest? Like, if there was a budget to, you know, there should be budget for treatments of gender-based violence cases, there should be recuperation, empowerment after that.
Even
like you talked about, yes, counseling and all that. So why is your budget the least? Are they not seeing the need to actually, you know, invest much in women and women affairs issues?
I'm going to bring it up because I just came in. Their budget has always been low. But to me, I feel because they've not shown that they have actions. That's what I feel. So now that we are showing that we have actions, I think you see a huge difference very soon. The government will consider it.
Okay. Now, do you want to break down, you know, why the federal government needs to improve your budget? What are those mega things that you will be doing that will actually, you know, make the federal government see the need to invest more?
Okay, the move we are making, like even making this move to get this mobile court to be created, is a huge move that we need funds to run it. The moves that shows that we are ready to work on that law against violence against women and children. So if they see those actions and see the positive end of some of the things we are doing, they will definitely see that we need money. Again, the sustainable empowerment. Poverty has been on the increase because they are not doing the right thing for those women to pick up. If you give a woman 50,000, she had problem before you bring it, the woman will definitely just want that. The money is already gone before it came. So some of the things, when they see these women striving, using what we've given them, picking money for themselves, their lives improving, they will know definitely that this is not a kobo stuff. We need money.
What about persons with disabilities, women who are subjected to one form of discrimination? I know there's a law, there's a commission fighting for that aspect, but when it comes to the women affairs, all women inclusive, even women, you know, who are persons with disabilities, what is the ministry doing for that section of women?
We don't want to discriminate against them. That's why we are forming women into cooperative. Okay. If they are part of that particular village meeting, they will be part of the cooperative. Remember, they are doing this work together and monies are being shared through the portal to each woman that participated. So we're not actually going to discriminate against them.
So it's an all-inclusive
all-inclusive,
okay.
all-inclusive. And they're happy. When we had a walk the other day, they were in front, very happy, dancing along with us and all that. So when you start making them feel they are different, create something for them to make their life worth living. That is what we're doing. So I don't want to start telling them you're this, so because you're disabled or because you're a widow, you'll be, you know, stay aside. No. It's not all widows that are even poor.
Yes, indeed.
So we deal with those meetings. Widows are there, disabled people are there, everybody are there. So we deal with the meetings that will touch everybody's lives.
Okay, so what is the trajectory for the Ministry of Women Affairs? I know you already have a lot on your plate and you started running. You hit the ground running. You didn't just crawl, which is very commendable, by the way. But what is in place? What are the projections you're looking at for the ministry in terms of ensuring that women are carried along, you know, when we're talking equity and social justice?
Thank you. Most times, they talk about politics, they say they don't have much women in politics. Only 1% of women have money. 10% own properties. How do you want them to come into politics? You have to build your confidence. And building your confidence, you need funds. So when I do this sustainable empowerment, which the results will start showing in 6 months, you start seeing the results. You don't need to drag any woman out to join. Most of them have the ambition. They don't have the money. They will start making money. Their confidence will be built. Their children will stop marrying early because they will not accept it anymore. It's not everything a man says they will now accept. If it will affect the person's child, the person will say no to it. Even the child will be empowered with skill acquisition. And when that child has a skill, and by the time she's 18 years, you can't tell her you have to go and marry. She will tell you, no, I will need to fall in love with somebody. Then I get married because she has something she could use and train herself. So this is the first step that will solve most of the branches, because most of these things come from poverty. You can't see a rich man's daughter going into early marriage. It's not done. They give out these children in exchange for money from the old man. Are you understanding my point? So the sustainable empowerment is the most important thing we should push. And we're going far. We have a portal. It will be ready soon. At least we've done the first demonstration. That portal, we have all these people on board them. And the businesses they are doing will be there. We'll have the buyers, we'll have the advertisers, we'll have, even NTA will be part of that portal because you're part of the people that will be advertising for us. And when anything is coming up, we'll put it in the portal. There is 200 bags of rice that will be ready in 3 weeks. And the buyers will indicate interest, pay through the portal, and we will make sure it is delivered. That's why we are going to have hubs in each local government. And we're going to have the tricycle to move those goods from that place to the hub. So we have a very huge plan. I'm even meeting today with some presidential group that will probably help us to perfect these things. And I'm telling you, it is a go-go. Nothing will stop it.
Okay. Now, you know, talking about the 5% affirmative, you agree with me that there's a decline when we're supposed to witness, you know. So what are you doing, especially aside the empowerment? Because most times this inability to be represented or to be elected starts from the party levels. And I know previous governments have made several attempts to ensure that party chairmen and executives allow women to actually come on board, just reserve this particular offices for women. And we've seen examples in Kogi where all the vice chairmen are women, and then, you know, so what are you doing to ensure that there's sustainability of this? It's not just one administration coming to implement this and another person comes and change it. So what are you actually working with party executives or political parties and all that?
I still go back to empowering women. When we are powerful, we'll be able to stand firmly and fight for our rights. I can talk today, leave tomorrow, things will go back to square one.
Yes.
But when you empower the women and they're doing well, whether you are there or not, they fight for their rights by themselves. I want to let the women know what the kind of women I want to be their minister are women that will be strong enough to fight for their rights. That's why I'm bringing in men's jobs for them to make money from it. They will go into construction. I've spoken to the Minister for Works. Whoever you're giving construction work must give me that 35% affirmative with women. And my women are going in there to do that work. There's no work we cannot do. When we are brought up like this, or we are led to understand, build our confidence that we can do anything. We can do anything. We have a mechanic women here in Abuja that are doing so well. But you have to create awareness. That is where you people are coming. We have to create awareness to let them know. Look at the police stuff. I had to make an advert myself. I spoke to the young girls. And as soon as I made that speech, come and see how they started rolling in and sending copies to Ministry of Women Affairs. that they have registered. We've registered.
Okay.
Are you understanding my point?
Yes.
So this is the major thing. We talk from today till tomorrow. If the women don't have confidence and they can't speak out for themselves, we will never achieve it.
True.
So I'm a practical person.
Yes.
We'll never achieve it.
And I see that's well demonstrated. And one critical aspect that you should also look at addressing, Honorable Minister, we've talked about a bit of it, but I want an assurance, because I'm sure Nigerians want an assurance from you too. When it comes to the security operatives, majority of the cases of GBV that have been reported, we have gender desk in all the security outfits. But when cases are reported, people, like you said, get discouraged and all of that. Are you going to go back again with a clear picture and a clear narrative to ensure that it's no longer business as usual? When it comes to a GBV issue, it must be tackled the right way and justice must be served. Especially if these perpetrators are not bothered that they're not going to be arrested because they have the connections. What assurance are you giving, victims out there that they should relax? There is a new captain in charge now.
Thank you. I've already shown it practically. I went to Maitama Hospital. I got there, and they said they formed a panel. The same Maitama Hospital that committed the crime formed a panel to investigate them. I refused. I walked down there with my directors and my team, and we joined that panel, and I've taken them to court. I can't sue the hospital. So I sued the CMD. I sued those on duty that day. It's by doing this and showing the world that action has started. That is the only way to show and give them confidence to come out and report that action will be taken. So that's the point. The one in Enugu too, I've done it. So every case that comes up, I don't let it lying low. I followed up on the Calabar one. The man is in court right now. Are you understanding my point? Yeah. So I follow these things up not because I hate the people that committed the crime, but it's because I don't want it to continue happening. Yeah. And when other people see what you have done with one, it will be a deterrent to others. So that is the major way I'm using to show them that it's no more business as usual. CMD is a big man. If he's found wanting in court, he will go to jail. Nobody is above the law.
Of course. Okay. So I think what Ruth is actually asking, and I'm also adding to, is that how should Nigerians begin to now look at this new captain, the new ship, the captain of the ship, yes.
Or new
how do we reach out to you? How should we reach out, when there are issues?
I have an open door. Okay. I'm telling you, come to my office and you'll see. The
what
children were in my office yesterday.
Yes. Honorable Minister, who can have access to you? Is there going to be a portal or the rural communities and all of that?
I talked about the portal already. Okay. The portal is for the whole Nigeria. Okay. It's not for FCT.
What about people in rural areas?
For those who have smartphones.
Yeah. No, we are not using smartphone. The portal we have, you don't need smartphone.
Okay.
You need USD. USD, right? Is that what they call it? You don't need
USSD.
Yeah.
USSD.
You don't need any.
You just type the code.
You just type the code.
Okay.
And you report.
Okay.
Oh.
And you just type the code and say, this is what I have. Are you understanding my point? So we are not doing what, because we are actually focusing on the rural women.
Okay. Honorable Minister, we have to round up this conversation. So I want to hear your final thought as a mother,
yes,
as a woman with a vision, and we're seeing your action, which is very practicable. What are you envisaging, for women in Nigeria, who don't have a hope, who didn't have a voice? What encouragement and what hope are you giving them?
This thing that is about to happen in this country has never happened before, anywhere in the world. Because the president, I'm not saying it because I'm working for him. I'm saying it that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a huger passion for, more than any of us, concerning these issues. That whenever I bring it up to him, he jerks up on his table, on his chair. Are you understanding me? Please, all I'm asking the women to know, have hope. No more hopelessness for you. There is love for you people. You're a Nigerian, you deserve the best. You can't be hearing fonts, huge fonts everywhere while you're dying. You don't have 1,000 naira. It is going to come to a stop. Nobody will treat you anyhow anymore. The president has interest in you. I have interest in you. And I have the energy to fight for you. Trust me, I will fight. I don't care what anybody thinks. As far as the president is behind me to make sure you people are protected, I will fight. Just watch and see how it goes, so that you will be encouraged that your life is about to change for good. You would not be able to be begging people anymore. There won't be issue of go and distribute this for them. I don't want it for you people anymore. I want you to start earning your money so that you will have your rights. I beg. This is very
I like
fun.
the I beg you added. Thank you so much. It's a very serious
So much
issue.
passion.
Yes,
Yes.
I want to commend your passion, your resilience, the dedication you put into work. We want to see you succeed, and we want to see, most importantly, that women, their lives are affected positively. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, Barrister Uju Kennedy Ohanenye. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And then we want to thank our panelists, Momso Damian Detti, our own women fighter in NTA, correspondent. Thank you, want to put it. Thank you so much, Momso.
All right. Thank you so much, Ruth.
All right.
Thank you.
We've been talking, ending gender-based violence and the task ahead. There's a huge task ahead of all of us. We can't just sit back and watch things fall out of place. You have a role to play. It affects you. That is if you value humanity. Let's put a stop to GBV. And that's Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela.